Hi, Leah.
Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Justice Speaks.
Of course. Thank you for inviting me.
Yes, this season is about talking to people of color, particularly women of color, and their interactions with the Medicare medical system in the U.S.
Hey.
So, just to get things kicked off, I'm going to ask you, how do you identify?
I identify as a Black woman.
You're also a mom, and I want you to tell me about your experience being a mom. And how was your last pregnancy sort of tested? And have you had or heard of other Black women having trouble navigating the medical system in the US?
Definitely. Well, first of all, as a Black mother, when you go to the hospital and you're going to your appointments, you often don't see anyone who looks like you. So that can be an uncomfortable or awkward situation. As far as my last pregnancy, my youngest son, Zion, he's now 20 months. He'll be 2 in May. And I experienced a gamut of things, a gamut of complications with him, just trying to birth him in a healthy way. So at 20 weeks, I was misdiagnosed with gestational diabetes, which sent me into just a whole journey of trying to figure out what was wrong with me, because the symptoms that I was experiencing didn't match the diagnosis. So I ended up leaving the doctor that I was with, and I moved over to a completely different hospital and provider. When I got to that new hospital, new provider, they tested every single thing. They listened to me. They asked me questions that I didn't even think I should ask for myself. And with my extreme morning sickness, on top of feeling very fatigued and I just wasn't really there. I wasn't my best self. I was extremely sick and even had to leave work early in my pregnancy because of it. And I learned at 34 weeks, that's when I left my previous provider, that I actually had preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is a fatal condition. It is characterized by high blood pressure, swelling in the hands and feet, and it can be very fatal for both mother and baby. And so that was my last experience being pregnant with Zion. And it was just very difficult. It was very uncomfortable. But I will say, moving over to a new provider and having a doctor who looked like me, had natural hair and everything, I mean, it was amazing. And it just made the rest of the pregnancy so smooth. And they tried and looked into every single thing to make sure that the last few weeks of my pregnancy could be a lot smoother than the first half of it, the first 2 parts of it. Yeah.
And so how important is it for moms to speak up? I do know yesterday you went down, was it to Lincoln?
Yes, I went to Lincoln, Nebraska.
Okay, and you were testifying on behalf of Black mothers. Can you tell us a little bit more about what that was and how that felt?
Well, it felt powerful. I felt like I was standing in my power. Like, this is the work that I'm supposed to do. Like, everything that I experienced with my pregnancy was worth it, because now I get to come here and stand before the people who can make the decisions to add more support to mothers. And so the bill that I was testifying for as a proponent was for LB 929. Okay. And so with LB 929, the goal is to expand postpartum care for mothers from 60 days to 1 year. So as a mother, as a birthing person, if you have a year's worth of postpartum support, that is phenomenal, because there are still some complications that can arise from your pregnancy even after you deliver. Some things don't show up until after. After I delivered Zion, I developed tendinitis in my elbow. I developed carpal tunnel. I couldn't hold him I could only hold him for a minute or two before I had to put him down because I would drop him. And so my husband really had to help me in those first probably about 2 months. My hands just were not really they weren't functioning properly. And I had to have a cast on both hands and just try to make it work. And so I got a chance to testify and share that, to expand that coverage, and just knowing that that is a possibility makes me feel like, again, just so powerful and proud and just really valued in my experience. Yeah, it was an amazing feeling, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to do it. Yeah.
So when you were testifying, were you testifying that insurance providers would have to cover these types of services and needs for up to a year?
Yes. So services that are available, such as therapy, some moms develop postpartum depression and anxiety. Being able to have that coverage is very important. In that first, those first few weeks, those first few months, the first year really of the baby's development. You have the 4th and 5th trimester that people are now talking about more, because you're seeing women, mothers, just really fatigued and exhausted. And if you have to go back to work after 2 weeks, you deliver birth and you have to go back to work within 2 weeks, your body's not even healed all the way.
Wow.
That's not okay. It's not okay if you want to create a community of healthy and thriving families. And us being mothers, we're the one carrying the children. We need to be healthy so that our community can thrive.
Yeah, and if you imagine if someone had like a C-section too, like that would kind of just really be impossible. But I'm really glad that things are shifting. I've seen a lot like on social media where more moms are speaking up about, even some things to have in your bag when you go to the hospital, like things that are a little bit more personal than maybe people would share in the past, but things that are really going to help new moms and returning moms when they go to the hospital, just make sure that they're taking care of their bodies and that they can recover in a way that's, going to bring them as much comfort as there possibly can be.
Exactly. And even questions to ask too. Just knowing what to ask. That's important as well.
And what is something people misunderstand about Black culture? And what would you like people to know about the culture? What's your favorite part about it?
About Black culture? Ooh. You know what? I love being a Black woman. I love being Black, period. We are just so innovative and so talented in everything that we do. We just bring a different flavor to every single thing. I guess what I feel like what people misunderstand is that we don't have to always be strong. There is a softness to us that we can share with those that we feel safe around. And I mean, we obviously, there's historical figures who were very strong in their lives and the things that they've done. But I want people to know that we are strong, but yet we are soft, and there is strength in that softness, and to embrace it and accept it, that we have a softness to us as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that you would like to say? Any things that you feel folks should be aware of, just coming from, this really history-making day that you had yesterday? Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Let me share a statistic for you, because that's always important to understand why we do the work that we do. And so the average length of maternity leave for women is 8.5 weeks, which is not enough time for you to bond with your baby and to heal your body. And then really being able to speak up on behalf of mothers yesterday, or at the meeting, especially Black mothers. There is a severe maternal morbidity rate, near-death experiences at 63% higher. Oh, hold on, let me say that again. The severe maternal morbidity, blah, 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 blah. Get the word out.
Morbidity rate?
Morbidity rate. Randy, you're going to have to cut that out. The severe maternal morbidity rate is 63% higher for women in Black communities than in white communities.
Wow.
And that was the statistic that came out in 2020.
Wow.
That's huge.
That's crazy.
Yes. We saw all those stories from last year on Facebook. Mothers, fathers whose their wives were gone after they delivered their children because the care was not there. It wasn't there. Mothers were not being taken care of properly. We weren't being listened to. My initial doctor who diagnosed me with gestational diabetes, when I told her, I don't want to take this test again and I don't want to be on this particular med that you're prescribing me, she said, oh, okay, Candy, I'll play your game. What? It's not a game. I'm really sick and I don't want this. And there's something more wrong with me. So listen to women, listen to Black mothers, listen to Black women. Our voices matter. Our voices hold weight, and our voices can transform lives, communities, the world. We are worth listening to, and we deserve to be heard.
Yeah.
I have to say.
All that in a bag of chips, 10 times 20. Well, Candy, I want to thank you so much for your time and sharing your story. And thank you for just being vocal and sharing your experience and just letting people know how it is for Black women, Black mothers out here. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Leah. This is truly amazing work, and I'm very proud to be a part of it and thankful that my voice can be a part of the story in changing lives, changing the narrative.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.